Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you guys alright. Anyway, today I will fill you up with the next interesting characters that will appear on the next banner, which is Sparkle. For you who still quite wondering what she does, I think she is a good character and maybe a core character if you want to build a mono quantum deck. Why? Well, that is the reason we will talk about it right now. But please take a note that this is not a final build, everything can be changed and maybe will be completely different than in this video. Anyway, let's not beating around the bush and let's get into it. Okay, as usual, let's talk a bit about these characters first, okay? Sparkle is a member of the Masked Fools who also wants to get into the Genius Society. She is described as a woman with countless masks and many faces and dangerous master of theatrics. Sparkle is the upcoming 5-star harmony characters with the quantum damage type. She is mainly suited as support for hyper carry teams, especially for teams with high skill points demands. Sparkle's kit buffs the crit damage dealt by allies while increasing the max skill points by 2. She will feature in the honkaistarrail 2.0 update and be another great addition to mono quantum teams. And now let's talk about her kit. Sparkle is perfect for hyper carry teams, especially skill point negative DPS units. Her kit is straightforward and if correctly used, it can increase the team's damage significantly. She is also a strong contender to be one of the S tier characters in honkaistarrails. Let's look at her kit first to understand her playstyle. First is her basic attack. As usual, it's just doing a flat quantum damage to single target enemies equal to 130% of her attack. And next is about her skill. She will increases the critical damage of an ally by 30% of her critical damage plus 54% flat critical damage for 1 turn. And she will increases the action forwards the ally by 50%. Actually, this skill is really similar with Bronya's skill, right? Except Sparkle is just increases half of what Bronya's doing. The rest is quite similar, I think. Okay, now let's talk about her ultimate. As you can see, her ultimate will give a massive buff to her team, like recovers 4 skill points and will increases her talent damage by 12% per stack. I will explain further about this effect on her talent, okay? And about her talent is actually a bit tricky because not every characters can exploiting this. But the best characters who can maximize this effect undoubtedly will be SEELA. Why? Because every single time SEELA uses her skill or ultimate and successfully kill the enemy, she will keep attacking the enemies, making this talent will be OP for her. Plus, if you activate her ultimate, which can increasing the damage dealt of her talent, then SEELA will get around 60% increases damage dealt, which is pretty insane. And next we will talk about her technique. Actually, her technique is not somewhat OP, just gives stealth status to all allies and recover 3 skill points for all allies. I think it's good but not that much. Sparkle's skill gives a straight critical damage buff to one ally and advances their actions. Similar to Bronya, her talent also gives a damage buff to the entire team depending on the skill points used by allies. But there is something you must know. Sparkle's buff up times are pretty low, so you will need to fine-tune your team speed to get the best out of her buffs. Even though her stats require high critical damage for her buffs, you won't be using her basic attacks much due to her low buffs uptimes. So her ideal turn cycle rotation will have her take action right after your main DPS, allowing her skill to action forward to your main DPS and letting them take action twice. And now let's talk about her traces. Her first traces, which called Almanac, will additionally regenerate 10 energy with basic attacks. And for her second ascension, which called Artificial Flower, the critical damage boost from her skill lasts until the start of her turn. And lastly, for her next ascension, which called Nocturne, she will increases the critical rate for all allies by 5% and additionally increases quantum damage from allies by 5%, 15% and 30% for 1 to 3 quantum characters in the team. And next we will talk about her Eidolons. Sparkle is a strong character at Eidolon 0 when using her best build, and her Eidolons make her incredibly stronger. Her Eidolon 1 and Eidolon 2 are crazy strong as they provide 40% attacks increases to your main DPS and additionally lets them ignore 8% of the defense of enemies. Her Eidolon 6 also increases critical damage significantly for all her allies, but it's better to save your Stellar Jades instead. And now let's talk about her signature Lightcones, which called Earthly Escapade. It will increases wearers' critical damage by 32% and makes them gain mask at the beginning of the battle for 3 turns. After gaining the mask, allies of the wearer have increased critical rate by 10% and critical damage by 28%. When the wearer recovers skill points, including the limit exceeding skill points, they will gain 1 stack of Radiant Flame, and getting 4 stacks will convert it into mask for 4 turns. For Relic Sets, there is 2 pieces I will suggest you to use for your Sparkle. The 4-piece Traversing Hyperspace is best for Sparkle. The 4-piece Masquerader of Wild Wheat is also good alternative to increase Sparkle's speed and attack. And for her ornament, Sparkle's best build will use the 2-piece Broken Kill when she meets the 30% effect resistant threshold. This will allow Sparkle to buff the critical damage of all her allies by 10% on top of her skills buff. The 2-piece Penacony Land of Dreams will be Sparkle's best pick if she is in Mono Quantum team. This will let her buff entire team damage significantly, especially with her Ascension 6 ability unlocked. Sparkle's critical damage buff for allies scales with her critical damage, so stacks as much critical damage as possible. Next, prioritize meeting the 30% effect resistance threshold for using the Broken Kill set. Add at least 20% effect resistance on her substats, as her traces also gives a 10% effect resistance boost. Other than that, you can stack speed, effect resistance, HP, and defense percentage as needed. Make sure to always keep her speed 1 less than the speed of your team's main DPS. Sparkle's best team composition is undoubtedly a Mono Quantum team, as her Ascension 6 ability specifically increases the quantum damage of all allies. Her best team will feature SEELA, Silver Wolf, Fusuan. She can also pair perfectly with Dan Heng and other support like Ruan Mei or Pila. DPS units like Jing Liu and Blade can also pair with Sparkle. And next we will talk about should you pull or not. Okay, now Sparkle is looking to be a strong hyper carry support unit and especially strong for Mono Quantum teams. You should definitely pull for Sparkle, as Mono Quantum teams are among the strongest team composition in honkaistarrail. For the pros, I think she can increase the maximum skill points and recover skill point as well. So if you have a certain characters who uses skill points a lot like SEELA, then Sparkle is really good for them. She also can increases the critical rate and critical damage, lowering the DPS requirement for their critical rate, especially if you get her Lightcones. She also can give action forward to your main DPS, so your DPS can get more turn. And don't forget that she also have cons. First, she still can be used even though you are not put her on Mono Quantum team, but you can't utilize her ability from her Ascension 6. She really not suitable for DOT team, so if you're building a DOT team right now, don't pull for her. She also needs high critical damage to make her buff even stronger. So that's everything about Sparkle. Tell us your opinion on the build in the comment section. Thank you for watching and stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.